Staff treatment fidelity through preference assessment and reinforcement system in an ABA agency. Translational research bridges the gap between basic and applied fields of study in both directions in order to extend the knowledge base and utility of the fundamental laws of behavior or the technology derived from those laws. An example of this is relational frame theory and its initial basic research and then applied research into teaching perspective taking skills. There's a great area of need in the provision of home and community ABA-based services for providers. We face significant challenges in training, supervising, and motivating staff to provide high-quality services. Problems related to staff retention include client problematic behaviors such as physical aggression, working with families that might have difficulty understanding or buying into ABA-based treatment, lack of on-site support throughout all client sessions, the high volume of paperwork and extra requirements that are due for providing these services, inconsistencies in schedules if clients are calling off, low wages in comparison to the level of skill base that's required of them, and overall complexity that's inherent in some of the programming and the level of expertise needed by staff to be successful. Translational research can provide some answers to these problems through the field of organizational behavioral management, or OBM. Wilder, Austin, and Casella provided a definition of OBM as the application of behavioral principles to individuals and groups in business, industry, government, and human service settings. An example of this would be experimentation and application of differing schedules of reinforcement within the workplace, or the analysis of the verbal behavior of leaders within a workplace and their effectiveness in reinforcing and punishing behaviors of the staff. Rayo and Mawini did a basic experimental research. They looked at the relation of supervisor to supervisee, utilizing a mock work setting with college students serving as participants. There were 8 participants that were formed into pairs, one serving as a supervisor and the other as a supervisee. Neither of the individuals in the pairs were told of this relationship. The participants engaged in a series of pushing buttons and pulling levers as the work selected. There was a reinforcement schedule arranged in which the supervisor's behavior in some sessions served to increase access to monetary reinforcement for the supervisee. Additional FR19 schedule reinforcement was utilized in some sessions in which the supervisee's behavior increased access to monetary reinforcement for the supervisor. Results of the study showed that reinforcement contingencies increased both the supervisor and supervisee's behavior, though the vague nature of feedback throughout the interdependent contingency was not shown to be highly efficient or effective. Wilder, Harris, Casella, Wine, and Postma looked to extend previous research that they had done in a study 2 years previous, looking at the ability of managers to select items or activities that staff found to be reinforcing. They selected 15 managers and 100 employees to participate in the study. The managers were first asked to identify 6 to 10 items from a pre-established list for each employee. The employees were then provided the list and asked to rank order their preferences. Correlational data was employed which showed that the managers were generally poor at predicting staff reinforcers. And this provided justification as to the necessity of staff feedback to be involved in performance-based reinforcement systems, though the fact that they use correlational data instead of doing a single case design is a limitation to this study. Waldvogel and Dixon examine the use of a survey and a multiple stimulus without preference assessment in order to determine strong reinforcers for 4 direct care staff. The survey portion listed 10 different items, examples like public recognition, special parking spaces, and various $5 gift cards, and the participants were asked to rank them in order of preference. The 3 highest and 3 lowest for each individual were then represented as textual stimuli in an MSWO procedure. Results were fairly consistent across the survey and preference assessment, showing some validity for both of the methods. However, the study demonstrates 2 reasonably effective and efficient procedures for assessing minimal or non-financial based reinforcers. Wine and Axelrod utilized a generalized condition reinforcement system in the form of money or gift cards. compared to each other, as well as other types of staff reinforcers that were non-monetary based, like leaving work 40 minutes early or choosing work assignments for a shift. 2 survey methods were conducted: a rating form, which went 0 to 4, or least to most preferred, along with a rank order of all the items. In both assessments, the $10 cash reward ranked high, though some gift cards and work perks, like leaving early, actually ranked higher than money for some of the participants. The 2 methods displayed similar results, and overall the study provides further technology for staff preference assessments. Wine, Reyes, and Hantula looked at 2 forms of preference assessment: survey and multiple stimulus without replacement. They measured the reinforcing value of the selected stimuli through the increase of correct transcription of behavior data after the reinforcers were delivered. Both methods of assessing preference were shown to be successful in determining reinforcers. A social validity questionnaire was also provided to the participants, and one finding from the social validity questionnaire is that the multiple stimulus without replacement was really viewed as unfavorable by the participants. When the selected reinforcers were delivered immediately after the data transcription, the number of correctly transcribed data sheets increased. The researchers also put a control reinforcer. They put an item not selected as a high reinforcer and provided that to staff during various trials, and data transcription actually declined following the delivery of the undesired item. Wilder, Therian, and Wine examined the effectiveness of staff preference methodologies comparing survey with forced choice methods. Surveys were provided asking the participants to rank 0 to 4 how hard they would work to gain access to each of 6 different items. This was then compared to a forced choice procedure in which combinations of all 6 items were provided and asked to select which one they would work harder for. Reinforcer assessment was conducted examining the rate of filing papers with control non-preference items introduced between the forced choice and the survey methods. The highest preference items selected in both assessment methods showed an increase in behavior over baseline. Further evidence of the assessment's validity is that responding decreased whenever the control items were introduced. They also compare the 2 methods, revealing greater accuracy in the survey methodology. The research question I'm looking to pursue is a replication of the Wilder, Therian, and Wine study, looking at a survey-based preference assessment as well as a forced choice assessment and reinforcement system to test out those 2 preference assessments. Experimentation of the reinforcement system to measure the effectiveness of increasing staff fluency and engaging in errorless learning procedures during discrete trial training. The dependent variable for this study will be the number of correct trials of errorless learning. The independent variables will be corrective feedback and reinforcer delivery after errorless learning trials. Multiple baseline across subjects design will be utilized with embedded control reinforcers or items not selected during the preference assessment to evaluate whether the preference assessment was accurate in determining staff reinforcers. And in order to ensure that client programming is not negatively affected, the independent variable will only be implemented, the reinforcer delivered or the control delivered in staff role play sessions.